This is the story of a bloodline completely and permanently severed. In less than a few short years, what was once considered an unbreakable brotherhood has been entirely dismantled, replaced by a cold, permanent, and deafening silence. What looks like a mere family dispute playing out in the global tabloids is actually a devastating psychological war for the survival, dignity, and future of the British monarchy itself. A line has been crossed that cannot be uncrossed. The Prince of Wales is no longer merely angry or hurt by the actions of his younger sibling. He is gripped by a profound, unyielding disgust. In this video, we are going to unpack the final, irreversible collapse of Prince William and Prince Harry's relationship. We will reveal the staggering moral contradictions at play, the dark reality behind Buckingham Palace's desperate attempt to silence the future king, and what this extreme level of commercial desperation from Montecito actually means. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why the subtle signals being sent right now are not just about a family feud, but about a ruthless preparation for a reign that will show absolutely zero mercy. To truly comprehend the sheer gravity of this rupture, we have to look back at the golden era of their brotherhood. The contrast is devastating. For decades, William and Harry were bound by a shared trauma that no one else on earth could truly understand. Walking behind their mother's coffin under the blinding flash of the world's cameras forged a survival mechanism between them. William was the stoic anchor, the future king who carried the weight of destiny. Harry was the fiercely loyal wingman, the charismatic prince who enjoyed the immense privilege, wealth, and institutional protection of the crown without the crushing burden of the top job. They had everything. They had global adoration, unquestioned respect, and a fortress of public relations guarding their every move. Remembering this era of undeniable privilege is crucial because it makes the current reality of commercial exploitation and public degradation hit so much harder. The collapse did not happen overnight. It was a slow, agonizing erosion of trust, fueled by a relentless public relations machine that never seems to sleep. The initial departure of the Sussexes was framed as a quest for privacy and independence. But what the world actually witnessed was the rapid weaponization of victimhood. It became entirely clear that the grievances were not just personal pain, but a highly lucrative commodity. Every interview, every documentary, and every memoir was a calculated transaction, trading familial intimacy for commercial relevance. But public patience is a finite resource, and the commercial desperation has now reached a critical threshold. We are seeing former allies quietly stepping away, journalists and media figures who once championed the Sussex narrative, viewing it through a lens of progressive liberation, are now finding themselves positioned as arch nemeses. When individuals who once provided favorable coverage turn and offer decisive, damaging evidence in court cases against the prince, it signals a massive shift in the ecosystem. The protective bubble has burst. The realization has dawned that operating as a solo brand, built entirely on tearing down an ancient institution, is an unsustainable business model. This brings us to the subtle psychological clues that carry devastating, deeper meaning. Pay close attention to the way language is weaponized in the public sphere. When the Duchess of Sussex subtly diminishes the names of those around her, shortening a powerful name like Archie to simply Archer, or referring to her husband merely as an initial, it is not just casual American vernacular. It is a psychological signature. It is a mechanism of control. It belittles, it isolates, and it shrinks the identity of the person until they exist merely as an extension of her own narrative. William, a man of acute emotional intelligence, sees this clearly. He recognizes the total erasure of the vibrant, independent brother he once knew, replaced by a hollow echo operating on a script written in California. The outrage currently brewing behind the ancient walls of the palace is not just about Harry. It is about a staggering moral contradiction surrounding King Charles. The king is a man battling a severe health crisis, a father clinging to the romantic, agonizing illusion that his fractured family can somehow be healed. He leaves the door slightly ajar. He grants poorly judged face to face meetings that only serve to feed the ego of a runaway prince. Most dangerously, he allows Harry to remain a counselor of state, a position of immense constitutional power. Because of this institutional weakness, Prince William is enduring a visual and psychological humiliation that is almost impossible to comprehend. William is a man who has not put a single foot wrong. He has carried the monarchy on his shoulders. He has shielded his wife through a harrowing health crisis of her own. He has managed his public image with absolute flawless discipline, offering the public rare, respectful glimpses of his children while fiercely protecting their childhood. He is a man of action focused on massive charitable initiatives that actually deliver results. Yet this perfectly disciplined heir is being actively silenced by his own father's administration. Buckingham Palace public relations experts, terrified of generating negative headlines or appearing vindictive, have essentially placed a gag order on the Prince of Wales. William is being forced to bite his tongue, fold his arms, and watch as his brother openly disrespects the crown in foreign nations. For a man of William's dynamic, commanding nature, being told to sit on his hands and humor a situation he finds morally repulsive is a form of institutional betrayal. It is victim blaming at the highest level. The palace argues that reacting to the Sussexes only gives them the oxygen of publicity they so desperately crave. They argue that the king's soft approach is the only way to avoid looking cruel. But in attempting to keep the peace, King Charles is quietly sowing the seeds of an absolute nightmare for his eldest son. The establishment figures whispering in the king's ear, urging reconciliation to rehabilitate the royal family's image, are entirely missing the point. To William welcoming back individuals who have shamelessly exploited their titles is not a PR strategy. It is the beginning of the end. It is rewarding treachery. William knows that if Charles gives an inch, the Sussex machine will take a mile, and ultimately it will be William who is left to clean up the mess. The frustration is boiling over. The divide is no longer just across the Atlantic. It is right inside the corridors of power in London. William is acting like a king-elect, a man who knows he already holds the moral authority of the crown, even if he does not yet wear it. But what the Sussex public relations machine fundamentally misunderstands is the nature of Prince William's forced silence. They mistake his institutional restraint for weakness. They believe that because the king is shielding them, they have a permanent free pass to operate their shadow royal tours and commercialize their proximity to the throne. They think they have won the long game. They are wrong. This silence is not a surrender. It is a countdown. Because behind the tightly shut doors of Adelaide Cottage, William is no longer trying to reason with his father. He has accepted that the king will never take the necessary brutal steps to protect the monarchy. And so the Prince of Wales has begun quietly preparing a ruthless, unprecedented executive strategy that will alter the British Constitution forever. What William plans to do the exact second the crown touches his head has just been leaked, and it changes the entire reality of this royal warfare. When a future monarch realizes the reigning sovereign cannot protect the institution, the heir must become the enforcer in the shadows. The leaked blueprint for Prince William's ascension is not a document of reconciliation. It is a masterclass in constitutional amputation. According to well-placed insiders, the moment William becomes king, the hesitation that defined his father's reign will instantly vanish. We are looking at the drafting of new letters patent, the exact legal mechanism required to completely and permanently strip the Duke and Duchess of Sussex of their titles. But the strategy goes much deeper than just Harry and Meghan. It involves permanently removing Harry from the Councillor of State roster, a move Charles was too emotionally compromised to make, and restructuring the working monarchy so tightly that there is zero legislative loophole for a California-based return. William is not just closing the door, he is bricking it over. To understand how Prince William reached this point of absolute zero tolerance, you have to look at the psychological dynamic behind closed doors, specifically the unwavering boundaries set by the Prince and Princess of Wales. Catherine's recent battle with cancer was the ultimate paradigm shift for the family. When a family is confronted with true existential mortality, the manufactured dramas of Hollywood royalty suddenly look grotesquely small. The Princess of Wales, who was once the peacekeeper, the woman who famously orchestrated that brief conversation between the brothers at Prince Philip's funeral, has entirely washed her hands of the Sussexes. The relentless public attacks on her character crossed an unforgivable line. William watched his wife endure staggering public pressure and private medical terror, all while his brother's commercial machinery continued to throw grenades over the palace walls. The betrayal here is absolute. The Sussexes built an entire brand on the language of therapy, mental health, and healing, yet their actions inflicted measurable psychological distress on a family dealing with actual life-threatening adversity. That moral contradiction is what sickens William the most. It is the hypocrisy of preaching compassion while actively participating in the public destruction of your own flesh and blood. Publicly, King Charles may be pushing a narrative of open doors and paternal love, but privately, The subtle visual cues and social media signals tell the true story of William's growing dominance. Look at the recent high-profile royal events. Look at the seating arrangements, the deliberate scheduling conflicts, and the completely empty spaces where a younger brother used to stand. When Harry makes a fleeting visit to London, there is no untouched glass at a VIP table waiting for him. There is a deafening coordinated absence. William refuses to be in the same room, let alone the same building. This is not petty sibling avoidance, it is a highly disciplined quarantine. What looked like a small public moment of scheduling conflicts was actually a devastating metaphor for Harry's new reality. He is a man who successfully sued for his independence, only to discover that his independence is entirely irrelevant without the institution he so publicly despises. This is exactly where the story transcends royal gossip and touches a raw emotional nerve with millions of viewers. We are not just watching two princes fight over titles and tiaras. We are watching a universal human dilemma play out on the grandest stage imaginable. Everyone knows what it is like to have a family member who drains the oxygen from the room. Everyone recognizes the deep exhaustion of dealing with someone who weaponizes their trauma, someone who demands endless grace but offers absolutely zero accountability. William is demonstrating what it looks like to finally enforce a rigid boundary against a toxic family dynamic. He is choosing the survival of his immediate family and his lifelong duty to the crown over the exhausting, cyclical demands of a sibling who refuses to heal. The commercial desperation we are seeing from Montecito today is a direct reaction to this terrifying new reality. The sudden pivot to selling lifestyle products, the frantic rebranding, the desperate scrambling to recalibrate their royal credentials, it all points to a staggering realization. The victimhood narrative has expired. They have realized that operating as a solo brand is failing because their only true currency was their proximity to the throne. They know that King Charles is their only remaining lifeline and that lifeline is tragically, inevitably finite. When the transition of power eventually occurs, the era of royal apologies, half and half-out compromises, and palace PR appeasement will die on the exact same day. Prince William is a man of action who has learned the hardest lesson of all from his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth. He understands that duty to the nation must always come before personal sentiment. The Sussexes wanted a life completely separate from the British Monarchy, and Prince William is going to ensure they get exactly what they asked for, with absolute unflinching finality. The final severance is complete, and the only thing left to witness is the execution of the endgame. But this story is far from just a monologue, and I want to know where you stand on this historical divide. Is Prince William entirely justified in locking his brother out forever to protect his wife and the crown? Or is the future king making a ruthless mistake that will haunt his reign? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this analysis insightful, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss a chapter. We will be right here watching history unfold.